Hey everyone, welcome back to the Coast to Coast podcast, episode 16. We're returning with my main man, Mister Maverick, after a 3-week hiatus, mostly because there wasn't too much to talk about, a little bit of a lull period, but we figured it was time to get back on the recording and kind of just give an update on everything going on in the world out there, mostly, and sports. We're dying for sports.
That little thing at the
Yeah,
end.
we're dying for sports to come back. I
Yeah,
think
it's not
that
going to be the same though.
it's not going to be the same, and I think that's a little bit of why the hiatus for me. I kept kind of being like, I don't know if I have anything to talk about. I the sports. I've been very much missing it. Right now, baseball would be about a month in. NHL would be in their playoffs, NBA would be in their playoffs, soccer, if you're into that kind of thing, would be kicking off, and
It's like prime time right now. This would be the time where everyone's getting their beers and sitting down on the couch on weekends and catching the games and wearing their jerseys around town, honking horns, doing all that other fun stuff.
yeah, and I was really looking forward to kind of growing this iHeart Sports thing around. I was really gonna start pushing it more with the baseball season and the
Mm-hmm.
hockey playoffs and all that
Well,
stuff.
yeah,
I would have had lots to do. Instead, I find myself taking weeks off of
I
trying to
know.
do a
I felt like we were
podcast.
really getting into a bit of a groove there, and then it just was like I wanted to do it, but it's like, what are we going to talk about? Even today, I feel like there might be a bit of a scrounging for topics, but I know we had a couple things. It's just with everything going on right now, it's just hard to kind of talk about sports for something that is driven on day-to-day news or hour-to-hour news, even sometimes even minute-to-minute.
Yeah,
Something that there hasn't been anything new really now in what, 6 weeks now.
6 weeks, and
There's
like,
been the Brady thing, couple things, football, whatever here and there, but it's not the same.
yeah, it's really just all theory crafting. People coming up, if this happens, this will happen, or like this is what we can hope to expect, best case scenario. Like, but no, the problem is no one knows anything at this point of
Yeah.
when things are going to start to reopen, when you're going to allow gatherings of people to go to stadiums, or like how the world's going to really move forward after this whole pandemic. People don't know.
Exactly like you said, we don't know. We don't know the time frame, whatever. So like it's hard to know or discuss even, what's going on right now. To me, it's almost like, well, when we take that next step, whenever it is, what are we going to look at?
Yeah.
And to me, like I know I've mentioned to you a couple of times, just concessions. I think concessions is going to be the biggest thing impacted from this. You think that after this, people are just going to be able to fill popcorn bags at a one giant thing? You think people are going to, be able to have 16 concession workers working in that tiny little space where they're all basically standing on top of each other anyways, and a lot of them are kids or older people, semi-retired, maybe sometimes with handicaps and stuff like
Yeah, and
that.
not to knock on potential, but like, are the food safety is gonna be a even bigger topic going
No,
forward.
but let's do this for example. In the
Yeah.
majority of arenas, they take the tops off your drinks, right? Because they don't want you flicking them and throwing them, right?
Oh, is
So
that
is
why
that
they
going to
do it? I
change?
never knew why
That's
they.
why they do it, because a lot of people would put it in their finger and like flick it.
Mm.
So like I don't know if you've ever seen people do that, but you can flick a bottle cap pretty hard and pretty far. Like I'm talking like 25, 30 feet.
Yeah.
So like if you got a couple hundred people doing that, all of a sudden you got all these bottle caps on the ice and it's gonna be a mess more than injuries probably, but like at the same time it's nothing you ever really want to see or be part of. It's one thing when the Leafs threw egos on stuff on the ice. It's another when somebody throws a jersey on live play. As far as I'm concerned, if it's a commercial break or anything like that, do whatever the hell you want. Maybe
Yeah.
not streak, maybe not jump on the ice, but like if you want to throw your jersey on the ice, you're 100% entitled to throw your jersey on the ice. Just don't do it during play. Is kind of my thing.
I'm actually very shocked that you think concessions are going to be the big hardest hit thing of this.
Well, I think it goes hand in hand with the couple times I've mentioned the virtual reality aspect. If you're at home or in a virtual reality box, your concessions are coming from home. They're handpicked. They're bought from the store. They're sitting there waiting for you, right? You're not buying them from somewhere.
I'm gonna ask you, like, do you think that we're gonna see full stadiums of sporting events again?
Yes.
I'm gonna go to that extreme. I'm gonna go to the very far extreme again.
Yes, but my question to that is how long? The question I don't know the answer to, and I can't come up with anything, is when that will be. Do I think that will be this year? No. Do I think that will be next year? Probably not. Do
And
I think
yeah,
it will take 4 or 5 years to get back to quote unquote normal? Yes, I do think it will take 4 or 5 years to get back
and
there.
I agree with that. And just to put some context into it, there's been me being in Vancouver. I said this to you today. Our health minister here said that we're likely going to keep gatherings 50 or less for
Hmm.
another entire year. So that
Hmm.
automatically knocks out sports for a year
Yeah.
that have fans. And I
Well.
know our place, our British Columbia, is not the only place to be like that.
Hmm.
California's said similar things. That mayor of LA has said no, there won't be concerts or sporting events for the rest of
Yeah.
2021, and we're in April, so that's 8 months.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
And
then,
that's them knowing this is not going right now. So if
yeah,
this goes another 6 months, that date could be pushed back a year just from 6 month delay. Like it will probably
yeah,
be 2 to 1, maybe 3 to 1 in terms of that time frame,
mhm, mhm,
which is kind of scary. But like what I was gonna say is it's hard. I don't really want to go off on like a weird tangent here or anything, but I just had a thought of remember back when 9/11 happened
vaguely,
and
yeah,
the differences of traveling and the time frames of needing to get to the airport and the things that you can and cannot take and the restrictions and the people in the airports and how they handle the things, the machines they use, the dogs, that you know what I mean, all these things changed from what that one global event.
yeah. I
So
didn't
that's what I'm
necessarily,
kind of taking from it and
yeah,
thinking that where it's going to go with sports is it's things are there won't be a normal again. There won't be what it was. That what it was will never be again.
agreed.
Quote unquote normal. To summarize what it was, normal can be as normal as it will be later on, but there will be that transition. Will there be, if there's ready available testing, will you, if testing is available and you can get a test within 10 minutes, do you have to go and test before you go into an arena? Does that now mean you have to, where does the test happen? In the parking lot? What if you go pay for parking, get to the front door, and they decline you? Now you're going to go bitch about the $25 you spent on parking, right? So now do you have to get a test to get a ticket? Like it's going to change everything, right?
There's gonna have
Short
a
term.
fraudulent testing.
That too, that's an aspect of everything, right? I mean,
Yeah, we're thinking about just domestically like how it's going to be affected, but every sport is pretty much international, and that's going to
mhm,
be probably the last thing to open in most cases is international um, travel. U.S.
mm,
and Canada will have that relationship where it'll be open before anything else, but
but they'll have a lot of the same testing measures and
that's very true. Yeah.
equivalencies for that. So I think that it will be more of an invisible border, even though there will be, as opposed to borders with other places, which are actual more physical type restrictive borders.
Mhm. Mhm.
Maybe, who knows? But I don't know. What do you, what's your take on the whole virtual thing? Where you think that's realistic? What do you think about that whole thing?
I guess. What do you mean by virtual? Like someone puts on a helmet and they're like looking
Yeah,
around and they see everything? Because there's
this is
gonna.
what I picture.
It's.
Is sorry, go ahead.
I'm just gonna like the worry I have with something so virtual is just the startup cost and
Hmm.
the barrier to entry for your average sports fan. Your average
Hmm.
sports fan, they're not made of money. They just it's kind of their escapism from the work life
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So like if it's a startup cost and barrier to entry in the virtual reality,
But
it's
the way you
high.
watch sports isn't changing entirely. This is
Mhm.
just an alternative option on top of the marketplace. So you're not
Mhm.
taking away the global TV. That's still going to be there.
Yeah, so the way I see it, that I don't know the details of how television contracts are. I know specifically for baseball. I think we were talking about in the one chat that baseball is that they make most of their money from their
Hmm.
contracts. I
Hmm.
believe the NBA is very similar.
Yeah, I believe so too.
I'm not sure how the NHL has their structured,
I'm not sure.
um, but TV contracts are definitely going to have to be something to look at
Hmm.
because that's gonna be the main way people go to games. Like even if they are allowed to go to games, are people gonna go? It's it's people are weird. Like
If
sometimes
people are
like
worried about getting it, no, they're not going to go because they're going to have to deal with people touching their tickets. They're going to have to deal with people who sat in their seats the night before. They're going to have to deal with people passing them their popcorn and their chips or whatever. Like,
yeah, I don't know if everyone's going to become so germaphobe. Like as more and more details come in about this virus, and more details come
but
in
it's
that
not
it's
the germaphobe aspect I'm trying to get at. It's the close proximity part I'm trying to get at.
yeah,
I mean, there's
I
just
think they go
that's
hand
the
in hand a
place
little bit.
when you're in a sporting event, you got to go to the bathroom or you want to go grab something to eat. How many people do you pass that get in your personal bubble? I have a
Oh,
fairly
you touch
responsible
these
personal
people.
bubble. Yeah, like anything within here, I'm kind of like, okay, get out of here. But I'm good with that. But like I'm walking down the hallway, whatever, like there's people bumping into you and all of a sudden people cough on your face or something. Like you don't know, right? Like I'm not a germaphobe by any aspect. I just don't like when there's tons of people in my close proximity. So I'm just saying if I'm going to a sporting event, I'm thinking about these things. If I'm thinking there's
Me too. Yeah.
300 people standing at the concessions, well, you know what? Maybe I don't need that drink or whatever right now, and maybe I'll go back in 10 minutes or something, or maybe I'll just pass on it this time, or maybe the next time the guy's walking up the stand, I'll pay the extra $2 to get that beer from the guy that just gave it to me right there, as opposed to dealing with that other stuff,
Yeah.
just the different aspects of it, anyways. But what I was going to say with the virtual, the way I see it is, nothing changes the way anything currently is. It's still offered, but it's more of an alternative for franchises to get more money and partner with other next era or next generation type products or projects.
Mhm.
I feel that like, okay, you're a season ticket virtual person or virtual season ticket holder. You get your virtual headset for your seat for free because you got the season ticket holder.
That makes
So you're
sense.
not paying
Yeah.
that. And then you pay, like if you now have that virtual headset, you can pay per game. Now, the way I see it is you're going to have like a 3D camera, or not 3D, but like a camera in each, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, section of the stands. So it's basically like you're sitting in that section.
Yeah.
So you could sell out tickets or virtual tickets to each section. Then you can track 3D sound, people chanting and stuff like that. So like, let's say you and I were both
But how do you
visually.
get people chanting if there's nobody there? That's the only.
If you and I were watching this game together, you in Vancouver, me here in Toronto area,
Yeah.
and we had this virtually thing, and your virtual ticket was 3 sections down, how cool it would be that like you're yelling like, "Hey, Tori," and I could hear somebody yelling my name and being like, "Whoa!" Like you'll have the 3D sound, so you'll be in, and it will sound like, "Oh, the section beside me, I see them doing the wave, and I hear the roar in my headset phones." You know what I mean? Screw it, I'll do it. You know what I mean?
Sounds like we're building the Matrix a little bit here, Tori.
A little bit, but I'm just saying, to me,
The
that's what I
sporting
see. And I
Matrix.
see as a really cool opportunity
Yeah.
because let's be real. Before the VHS happened, it was like nobody's ever going to have a VHS. And it's not going to be readily available. They were like $600 when they first were launched at that time during that kind of money.
That's fair.
Then all of a sudden, DVD, Blu-ray, stuff like this. Look at these plasma TVs and stuff. They're crazy amounts of money a few years ago. Now they're a fraction of the cost. So yeah, virtual stuff right now, a headset's probably like $1,000 on the low end, maybe even more than that.
Yeah.
But if you start because of this, now 5 years down the road, you could have people, after this has gone back to normal, you could have people in the stands, but then you could also be selling these virtual tickets. And you're hearing the people from
Technically, you could have double sellouts.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I see the potential in
grow
it.
that.
I see the
and
potential.
be like, a section has 100 seats. Well, virtually, what's stopping you from selling 200 seats in that section? You just have the same sound coming slightly distorted from the different parts of the section. I don't know. I think it's really, really.
Well,
really
that's the thing. When it comes to business and everything, sports included, you have to adapt, or you're going to be left in the dark. So
Absolutely.
That's why I think it's interesting, and we might be a good leeway into it, is that there's been discussions about how and what a potential starting the season up again looks like. And I really think the first sport that can figure out how the hell to do it is going to be the big winner.
But I don't know the answer to this question. How many players are on a football roster? Isn't it like 50 something.
Yeah, it might even be 70, man. It's a
I
lot.
don't know. There's a lot of people on the side. I'm very ignorant when it comes to football. I don't really know the sport, so I don't really want to talk about it
I
very
have a
often.
football podcast that it goes on this channel, and I don't even know.
I will never be a guest. No, but I'm just saying, like, so in basketball, you have, I think, what, 6 times 2, 12, 14, couple of reserves, 14, 15 guys on a roster at any given night on your bench. So even if you said, the 4 that aren't playing, you can no longer sit down with the team. You now have to sit up in the press box. Small tinkering. It's probably not, ideal for those guys, especially if they're injured and they're being forced out of that situation. But compared to football, where you have these 50 guys on the sidelines per team, accommodating those two sports is a completely different beast for both of them.
No, exactly.
Like, I think it's gonna probably be baseball is probably to me the most logical one, because you have the only time you have people standing close to each other on the field of play is when batters have got onto bases, right? Because all the positions are all far apart.
Yeah, or if someone's charging the mound.
True. Umpires, stuff like that. So like small tinkering. Then obviously if nobody's in the stands, there's nobody in the stands, so you take that whole thing out to start. So to me, I think baseball will be the first one back.
Okay. I think and wouldn't that make them, because the people are fiending for sports, like we're not the only ones, so that
I also am calling baseball because they're desperate as fuck.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay.
They are so desperate. I don't remember the numbers. I'm not even going to spew them off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought NHL too is kind of like in a spot where they're like a small market sport in the big compared to the others.
NHL's got an expiring, dying demographic. Baseball is dying because it's too slow and people just can't dedicate 4 hours to watching a game anymore. Sure, on Saturday, Sunday, maybe Friday night is one thing. But watching that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Saturday, Sunday, people, when they get older, just tend to pick 1 or 2 games a week as opposed to watching them all.
Yeah, well, that's what I always loved about baseball, is the fact that it was on every day.
Yeah. But even when I watched, I'd wait for pitching matchups or big batting matchups. I wouldn't watch every game.
Yeah, well, we're different beasts when it comes to that.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. If they're a really good team, it's one thing. Like when you're excited to be like, oh, I love the closer and I can't wait to watch him pitch, or like, the fourth outfielder isn't the best, but he steals a ton of bases, so it's exciting to when he gets on base and stuff like that. There's different things that can get me excited, but like for me, I don't watch a lot of non-Jays baseball, and for the last few years, the fact that they weren't athletic, they never stole bases, they just played an average game. There was no ups and downs. It was just they just played this game.
Yeah, I always have the MLB package, and I probably watch more games that aren't Blue Jays than Blue Jays.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference. But anyway, like back to what I was trying to leeway into this, kind of what you were talking about. I want you to kind of go into what you're telling me about what it's going to take, like about how you thought that there's been discussions that this has to be the NHL season has to be done by the end of June.
Yeah. So I was reading an article. I don't know exactly how valid it is, but it popped up through, I believe it was Bleacher Report. So it's got to be somewhat decently valid. And they're just saying that there's going to be there's some lawyers that are looking into the fine details of the contracts. And obviously issues with contracts are, what if a contract's technically done and somebody, is in a plane crash and dies? What happens if, a contract's over, somebody breaks their leg, never gets signed again, and now they missed out on an opportunity on a big contract for millions of dollars.
Yeah, and as someone that works in a lot in litigation, this is why I wanted to talk about this, is because it's a very real possibility that once the lawyers get involved, they're going to have to negotiate starting this season. There could be
they're going to have to re-sign all these contracts.
They're going to have to do something, and like with no money, and it's just going to make the whole salary. I'm not looking forward to some of this stuff, man.
Right? Like if that's true, and the fine details, or they don't specifically indicate that in a situation like this, which it wouldn't, because this is a one-off. Like most insurance policies actually don't include pandemic coverage because it's not a something you can generate a rate for. So like, how would you know? But it
hasn't happened in 100 years really before this to like be able to know it would have been hard to
there's
figure
no precedent.
To
And
calculate what you could calculate the potential of it happening, but you have the ramifications, like no one can.
And theoretically, if these contracts were assumed in the court of law to be void beyond the extension of the time, which is known in NHL to be July 1st, that's when free agency opens, or whatever the day is, July 1st, 3rd, whatever the hell it is. If it technically expires at midnight the night before that night, but we're still playing hockey 2, 3, 4 weeks beyond that, let's use an old guy, for example. Let's say Marleau on the Penguins. Marleau hasn't missed a game in so many years. What happens if he comes and he scores 6 goals in the first 6 games, breaks his leg, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, no, he's just done? He probably would miss out on maybe one more year at $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's not very much. But you take an example of a younger kid maybe, or somebody just establishing themselves. What's to say a kid who breaks his leg doesn't lose a spot and never gets a chance again and misses out on the opportunity to make a career or make money? Like, there's going to be lots of these situations. And if these contracts have to be re-signed, every contract in the NHL will have to essentially be ripped up and re-signed.
Yeah, but like I assume agents and that aren't gonna. There's no way they can just rip up contracts though either.
Or they'll have to do I don't remember the name of it, but basically do like add a layer into the wordings of the contract.
That's very likely,
and maybe broad scope it and just be assumed within the contract. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting because obviously they're issues. They could be issues, and if we push this season, like, I'm really starting to think that the NHL is going to seriously have to consider, do we want to start impacting future seasons, or do we want to cut our losses and just start fresh again in September? Like,
I wonder if
we're getting to that point.
Yeah, I wonder. Well, I think at this rate, next season still is going to be impacted no matter what they choose to do.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in theory, they could just they could close the season down and then open it up regular, normal as October. At this rate, everyone kind of would expect that to be possible. We have no reason at this time to believe that it's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
This is again under the assumption that there wouldn't be fans in the arenas.
Yeah.
But I think, like, I don't know if it was us talking about it in the group or it's just me reading it, but talking about what's more valuable to have. I think I saw this on Twitter. There's an argument about, do they rather have a cup be awarded for this season with a huge asterisk beside it, or have a shortened season next year, or just one regular season next year that's just normal?
Yeah. And that's kind of like, you know me, I always look at things kind of backwards, right?
Yeah.
So like, if ignore everything else, let's pretend the season's starting. If we're starting the season, are we continuing it as is? Are we going to chop off games and say everyone played 68 games or whatever? Or are we going to use points percentage? Or what's the determining factor when it comes to that? So if once you decide and figure out that, then you have to go through and finish that part, and then you have to get into playoffs. So like, to get that part done, we're talking at, at least 3 weeks to figure that out.
I'm under the assumption we just come straight to playoffs, but that just seems so weird to me to do.
But if you do that, you got to expand them, no?
I think so, yeah. Maybe like a baseball-style wild card round.
I agree.
Football.
But if you look at it and you break it down by the amount of teams, it's easy to look at the standings. I believe it is in the West, where like it's like, okay, here's a clear cutoff. There's like 6 points difference between these teams, and there's only like one game different.
Yeah.
But I think it's the East where you go down and you cut them off, and then there's still one team that's only 1 point, but one less game played. So even if you do a wild card play-in with no additional games, they're getting screwed. So is that fair? I'd complain if I was that team. And then you look at the West, there's 15 teams.
Oh, we were looking at the standing races every week, man. I miss that so much. Like, I miss I wish
I don't know what's most fair. You can't go back games. You can't take games off that happened and say that they never happened. You can't do that.
I don't think they care about what's fair though. They care about the dollars. What's gonna generate the most revenue. Let's make sure that all the Leafs and all them are in the playoffs. Let's make sure.
So do a play in for everybody. Do a best of 3 for do the bottom 15 or bottom 16 teams, which means one team would be playing in both playoffs. But you do the bottom 16 as a best of 3s. So each team gets, it sucks you're only coming back for maybe 1 or 2 games. But not everybody's going to get the fair stick.
Yeah,
here.
and I've heard this argument. You can't come back and play regular season. You just can't because like teams like Detroit, why would they come back for 10 games? It makes zero sense.
If, the top 3 teams play Detroit twice and they don't have to play games, how is that fair that they're getting free points basically taken off their schedule? That's not fair either.
Well, that's what I mean, like why you can't have the like regular season really play out as normal. It's so weird because I do believe, I think I was looking at Detroit's schedule and they played like, I'm talking like Tampa, Capital, they played all those teams Florida down the stretch and they were going to get crushed.
They played Florida twice, I believe.
Yeah, so
that's probably 3 points for Florida, right? And those 3 points would push them ahead of Toronto. So, I mean, but here's a better question that made me change my gears today. You're a team, and you put your roster together. And let's say you're an older roster. You come back after this, and you got 2 or 3 guys who, their groins can't keep up, whatever. They got these little nagging injuries. Who are you calling up? Minor leagues isn't playing. HL isn't playing.
Okay.
Who are you calling up?
Can't you still call up your minor leagues even though they're not playing?
Well, the rules are you can only carry 23 roster spots, which means that's only 3 extra bodies.
Yeah.
So what do you tell everybody? Okay, you can carry 4 more extra bodies.
They're gonna have to. The amount of rules and regulations and like they're gonna
goalies. How many
goalies? Does the NHL
carry?
have a creative department? Because this is where they're gonna make their money, having a creative to come up with how anything's gonna work.
Yep.
Nothing's leaking because I don't think they have any idea what they're gonna do at this point.
Honestly, you want to know what I think the most fair way to do it is cut everybody off at 65 games or whatever the number is. It's not 65, 70 games. And let people play out the rest of their current schedule or what it was supposed to be in terms of teammate matchups up to their 70th game. Okay. So, yeah, you're chunking off the last 12, but, like, let's say the Leafs have 7 more games and, I don't know, Florida has 11 more games. Well, they're each going to get their 7 and 11 games versus those same opponents they were going to play anyways in the same home-away matchup they were going to get anyways. Just it might be on different dates.
I just don't think that's possible. I go back to my same argument. Well, it's possible. I just don't think the shitty teams that had no chance want to come back for. They've been off.
Have to look at it the other way too. What about the good teams, or what about the battle teams? Like if it's
Florida, I know, but those teams don't care about those. They don't care about each other. They're selfish.
Yeah, but if you have 9 teams complaining, the PA is going to have a problem. It's going to have to be almost not quite unanimous, but it's going to have to be 90% voting.
What do you think at this point the odds are that the season's just over? Not the season and playoffs, like
yeah.
The end.
I kind of have been feeling that for a little bit now. The more in depth I start thinking about this with who are you calling up, where are you getting extra goalies? Now how are you paying for them? How do you calculate that now into the cap? Is there cap overages? What about the people who saved this year on cap overages for next year? How is it fair for people now using free cap overage?
The trade deadline.
The trade deadline. People maybe would have done different things. Like, I think, unfortunately, we're getting to a point where unless next season can be normal-ish, I think you might just have to call it. And
I think it's 50-50 at least at this point.
I think it's less than that.
Yeah,
I think it's less than 30% we're having a season,
like a cup winner.
Yeah, I think we're about like just under 30% chance.
I would say that around that too.
Yeah, and like each day it goes by, it's going down 1 or 2%.
Well, every day that goes by and there's not more of a clear picture of what.
Yeah.
I think, like, April is. We're already on April, what, 23rd, 22nd?
20 something, yeah.
So I think we can agree that May is going to look very much like April for most of the world. It seems like, at least for me, like. So and then we're in June, and then
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I don't like to say it out loud, but it seems to be.
I don't think we're going to get back to any kind of normal till we start seeing snowfall again, to be honest. I
Well,
think that this whole summer is going to be kind of weird. I don't think that we're going to be able to, normally stand at a grocery store again until Christmas time next year, if not later. I
and
think like that's
allegedly
another
that's
thing.
when it's supposed to bounce back up again.
Well, that's the thing is what's Christmas shopping going to look like, or holiday shopping, I guess I should say, look like next year if this is still it, or if there's another wave, or if there's fear of another wave. Like, this is going to change the online industry even more so. Like, over the last few years, I've seen so many companies basically get rid of their overhead because, like, why pay for a building to store a
Well, I think
bunch
a
of
lot of
stuff?
companies too are realizing that the overhead is not necessary because
Hmm.
as much as because they're seeing like all this work from home and it's working.
Hmm.
Like they didn't expect it to actually work.
Well, that's the thing is that it's so easy for a company to be like, I don't think it will work, and I don't really want to put a whole ton of resources into making it work. Versus, you don't have a choice; you have to make this work, so make it work.
And then
And
once
that's what's
it's
happening.
working, and then they're like, oh wait a second, this can actually work.
And I think that there will be a few things, like it's hard to say that, like, to be thankful for this time, obviously, but I think there will be certain instances or situations where we'll be like, wow, this thing we're enjoying or happy about now would have never happened had that not happened. So,
No, and I know you just said that it's hard to look at, but you got to look at pandemics and just crazy events like this to good does
set
come
new
from it.
precedents, set
Good
new
always comes from things
requirements,
like this.
restrictions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wars, even the things that have changed after wars is not quite the same, but like it's the
Very similar.
advancements, the changes, the technology, the all that stuff. I mean, I am a little worried about the economy, but
Yeah, you can just
I'm not
print
an
more money.
expert, so
You just print more money. It's all right.
that's my thing. What is money?
It's nothing.
$1 billion here, $9 trillion there, $34 billion over here. Okay, who's keeping track anymore? Like, where's this debt going?
Somewhat, yeah. Like, who is actually tracking this stuff? Where's the cap
Yeah.
friendly for the fucking world? I don't. That's what I want to know.
Seriously. Yeah, I don't know what else I got
Oh,
though.
one sec. Knocked my headset off.
Nice. I was just gonna say I don't know how much else I got. Like I was trying to look at some stuff to talk about, but really it all relates back to the pandemic and like what's gonna change out of that, and we really don't know. But
No, yeah, we really don't know. But again, the reason we were off for 3 weeks. It was time. I
mhm,
hadn't seen
yeah,
you. It's time to meet
yeah,
up. And it's always nice to have a talk with you. We
for
do always
sure.
talk a little bit before, and it's always good to just catch up.
Hmm.
Um, but like I do always think about 200 years from now, someone's gonna stumble across this and fucking they're gonna follow the story, and we need to
Hmm.
update that person. They need
Yeah,
to know that 3 weeks later we're still in lockdown. This world's in
yeah.
lockdown. We're quarantined. We're not really supposed to leave our houses too much.
And there's nothing to talk about. Like there's no sports. There's nothing happening in the economy. There's no business happening. There's no people going outside. There's
Unemployment is at record levels. Like
Elon Musk's Starlight satellites is like the biggest thing that people are talking about right
that's
now.
because it hit 420 though. That's why.
Well, that too, right? Like these are the big things everyone's getting so stoked about. Like there's nothing going on right now. Like there's nothing. Like I have barely picked up my computer. I barely like I look at my phone usually when I'm actively chatting with people and stuff. But like there's often many times where I put my phone down for 3 4 hours. Don't even bother looking at it. I don't. I used to always check on our fantasy stuff during work, but like on breaks, check up on stuff, see who's adding in the morning, who's adding at night, that kind of stuff before game time. There's
Hour to
nothing,
hour, I was on there.
nothing going on. Like I was working on a mock draft for our fantasy league, and like I got to like the eighth round, and I was like, I'm bored. Like I'm
Yeah, and
so bored.
I want to apologize to you. I know you've been trying to swing a deal with me.
Mm.
I've had no desire to look at it just because
Hmm.
a lot of my decision making is going to rely on answers I don't know yet. So it's
Yeah.
really hard for me to make a decision because.
Well, all I'll say about that is the offer stands, but that's the best offer I can probably give you, unless we renegotiate those other things. But I'm not giving my 7th because it's the first in the round, so it's really like a 6th. So I'd give you my mid-8th, but I'm not going to give that high 7th.
I have to look, but
yeah. But yeah, we can look at that later.
On the positive side, that Matthews rookie card is already up like 30% from when I bought it, so that's a good thing. I was following one yesterday because I was looking at a second one in my collection, and it went for much more than I bought that last one. So I was like, wow, the hockey cards are still popping off. I don't know what's going on with that.
Actually, I wanted to show you this. I randomly found this the other day, and I wanted to show you, and I totally forgot.
Glad I could bring
I was really hoping it was the rookie card. Hold on, it might be.
Need to get a poster over here or something. A little blank wall. Need to put something here. Nordique, Joe Sakic? Yeah. Nice.
I don't know if it's worth anything or not, but
probably a few bucks. Cool. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was my dad set it aside because that was his favorite player that year, and this card is from my birth year, so it was his favorite player from the year I was born.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Did we hit all the topics on that? I know you had 3 there. I don't remember.
I had a few things, but it was all basically the same thing, and all just.
It all circles back to kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, the only other thing I didn't really talk on is the talk about how they might hold games at certain centralized locations. But I've read 2 articles that contradict each other since I mentioned that to you. So like, I kind of lost interest in talking about that because I also don't understand how that works anyways, because if you're centralizing teams that are moving in and out anyways, what's the point?
Yeah, I think it has to be in one country, I feel like, because right now in Canada, if you come back to Canada, you got to quarantine for 14 days.
They're using arenas where there's either arenas attached to hotels or arenas with hotels across the street. So they can basically book off the hotel and no one else is allowed in that place. They go in, they clean it. Hockey players only stay in that hotel. They go to the rink. They go to the hotel.
I heard you say that, and then you said, "Oh, there's something contradict it." But then I saw something that they would have neutral sites, but it would have to be NHL arenas. And one of them that they were talking about was Winnipeg specifically, mainly because nobody really goes to Winnipeg. Manitoba has pretty much not been too hit by this, but. Again,
the only problem is Winnipeg is one of the worst arenas in terms of broadcasting.
Okay.
Or that's what I've heard. So like they'd have to do a bit of a retrofit, which is fine, but more money they'd have to spend, which is actually a win probably for Winnipeg. But still, like that's the other thing everyone's got to remember too is sure you can put it in some sort of centralized rink, but you got to broadcast it too, right? Like the NHL is not going to start up hockey and then not put it on TV. If it's starting up, it's going on TV.
It's going to be an arms race to get on TV first. I'm telling you, it's going to be.
But what if the new thing, instead of having this crazy broadcast, is what if they start putting cameras on players or cameras on the goalie or a drone camera or something like
a raccoon camera?
What's the camera they have in the football thing where it's like
I know what you're talking.
I think they did that in the NHL for a bit, but then people got annoyed with it moving around on the top of the playing surface. I think they did that for a bit or something. But yeah, I just mean like, there's going to be complications. It all relates back to the same thing. It all relates to we don't know. It relates to further issues and complications, further concerns that things will even happen. And then it just kind of makes me be like, well, what's the point thinking or talking about it? Because like, who knows? Fingers crossed. But we don't know. I guess that's the other thing I could add too. So I don't know if I mentioned or not, but I'm going to be working at a golf course this summer. Okay. So I just had my first meeting yesterday about the golf course and the rules. So I mean, I guess I could just bring that up and just the fact that, I mean, golf, you don't even think about it, right? But right now they're basically saying you have to prepay everything. No more foursomes. It's just twosomes. No more power carts, and if it is, it will be one person will be working, and you have to wipe down every power cart. So that's a lot of work for one person to do, right? So they might just not do it. No rentals of pull carts, no facility use, no weddings, no diners, no cart girls,
That
no
makes sense.
nothing.
I just
And
the
they're also
one thing I
talking
don't
about
under
spreading the times apart from like whatever it is, 9 minutes to 18 minutes, so that it's further apart too.
yeah, that makes golf is one of those things. You can't use those hand wash things.
Yeah.
Just wanted to do that. I
I've always wanted to do that.
I just don't. Why not have foursomes? Like if you're in a foursome, it's likely people you live with. So like, what difference does it make?
Mhm.
You should be allowed foursomes. You're allowed gatherings of up to 10 or whatever, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I think they're just more worried about spreading it and whatnot because people are going to flock to golf courses. I mean, a lot of people who golf, they golf to get away from either their significant other or
yeah,
their friends or their parents or whatever, just to get out in nature and get some sun for a couple hours, right? So
peace and quiet. Yeah.
it's not going to be the people. It's going to be the people who want to get out of the house and be like, I just need 3 hours to myself. Like, I don't golf. I'm just going to go golf because it's the thing I
One
can
thing
do.
I can do. Yeah.
So.
It'll be interesting with with the United States to our south here. There's a couple states that are being. Some people are upset with it. Some people are happy with it. They're opening it up for business per se.
Mm-hmm.
As of what was it? As of Florida opened their beaches over the weekend. Georgia is opening up, I think, as of today or tomorrow. Um, Trying to remember. There's one other one. It might be Texas. I don't want to get it wrong, but
Yeah.
so we'll see if there's going to be some test states ahead of us that are in the same kind of scenario, same kind of living styles as us. So we might be able to learn what it actually has. And
But the thing that we have to be worried about too, well, not us necessarily, but I feel like the states are pushing themselves. They were the last ones to kind of react to it, and then they had all these issues, and then now they're also the first ones to be trying to be pushing to open things. So it's like I would almost rather be Canada and be
um,
standoffish and wait and be cautious than just jump back into it and then have another wave kill hundreds of more people.
hmm Well, I think our biggest concern is going to not necessarily be Canadians. It's going to be when we start opening up international travel again. Like
Yeah.
potentially our biggest concern. But at the same time, the whole herd immunity issue, if we kill it too much at the beginning, then it doesn't really give the herd immunity. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I'm no expert, and I'll leave it to the experts.
Yeah.
One thing I did read today, which I found very interesting, was there's new studies coming out that they believe that there's 10 times more cases that there has been 10 times more cases than in the state of California than reported, and just because of asymptomatic, they believe this thing is very potentially asymptomatic more than it isn't.
Yeah.
So
Which is scary, right?
it's scary, but at the same time, if that is true, the mortality rate drops significantly, which
Yeah,
would
but
put
there's
it
a
in the
lot of
same.
common flus and coldness and stuff that people have that what's the
Exactly.
word I'm looking for? The like the
Severity.
like the immunity to the fuck, I just had the word in my mind. Like the mutancy too. Like some people are just mutant to certain things, right? So like
hmm
that could be a thing too. Like there could be some people that could, come in direct contact with it that, gives them a little cough or whatever, and they have small symptoms where somebody could be hundreds of feet away and could be put in a deadly situation.
Yep.
But
Shame for sure.
yep.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just keep talking about COVID if we don't wrap it up. So.
I just had a thought. I was gonna say, how many hockey cards do you have? A lot, or?
I just started collecting this year. I have. I don't know. I have like the basic set of 250. Well, really, the basic set has about 250 of them are rookie cards. The rookie ones are a lot rarer. The
Okay.
basic I have probably about 180 of
How
the
how much did you
200.
pay for the whole set, if you don't mind me asking? Like how
I
much is
don't
it to make
have
it
the
a
whole
whole thing?
set.
Oh, I thought you bought the whole set.
No, because like it's random, right? Like here, I'm just because these are like all my doubles. Like for instance, I have like a bunch of doubles. I just keep them
Uh-huh.
on my desk. These are just like the basics. So like these ones aren't. They're not valid. really the valuable ones, and
Mhm.
those are my doubles. So like I have about 60 doubles of ones of the
Mhm.
200 Series 1 ones. But
What are you
I
doing
would
with
say,
them?
pardon?
So what are you doing with all your extras?
Right now, nothing. My other buddy that collects, I was gonna send him the ones he doesn't have. He sends me the ones I don't have.
Nice.
But I don't know. I was thinking of putting them on the Facebook Marketplace or something. Someone that
Mhm.
needs them. Here, you can
Yeah.
get 10 for like a buck. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
That's pretty cool.
I got the starter. I forget what the name of the pack was. It came with about 24 packs in it. I got that for 75 bucks.
Okay.
And that came. I got probably a giant chunk of my collection from that 150. But
I
like,
should have just collected hockey cards. Like the amount of shit that I spent so much money on that I can't even put out or store now. And it's like hockey cards you can put in a binder or like into a case or
yeah.
something. Like,
And for me, I think I don't know about the whole like opening packs. That's more for fun. I don't think
yeah.
you don't really do that for to make money
Yeah.
on
No,
that.
for me it would be like, getting a cool Matthews card or like, and then looking back in 20 years being like, oh yeah, I remember that,
Yeah.
Matthews is sick. And like, having the
And that's
flashbacks
what
of
I
certain
think I'll do.
players.
I'll buy probably like that same box that I bought this
Hmm.
year, like every year, just to see, and maybe
I
I'll
love
pull
looking
a
at my
cool
dad's
card.
cards and going through and being like, I know that guy. I've heard that guy's name. That guy was a dick. That guy was a fighter. That guy scored a lot of goals.
Hmm.
Who is that? That guy's got a funny name. Like, go through all the players, but I usually sort them by team. I wanted to sort them, but he got mad at me because he didn't want them out of the boxes, which is
Yeah,
fair. But
they're
I started
in. If
sorting
you
them by
put them in
team.
order, they are by team.
Oh, okay.
Right now. So like card number 1 is
Anaheim or Arizona.
1 through 7 is no, it's actually Toronto. 1 through 7 is Toronto. Then it goes to
Oh,
Boston.
okay.
Like they kind of put it in order. If they don't put it in alphabetical order, I guess
Yeah,
Toronto,
they
Toronto.
should.
Yeah, they should, but whatever.
Or I guess if team names change or whatever, like if when
Hmm.
Arizona Phoenix changed to Arizona, now it fucks everything up. But
For me now, like now that I have like the basics aren't worth the money. It's the rookie cards. It's the holographic like special ones for certain players that come out like canvas cards and stuff like that. Those are the
with the
ones.
little jersey pieces and stuff.
Yeah, and
Really cool.
I but so I basically look for the ones that I think the whole idea is that you bet on a player that you
Hmm.
think isn't that's underrated now. It's kind of like fantasy in a way. Like you,
Yeah. See, I would have an obsession with goalies. I would probably try to
that's
collect
what.
all of the goalies and then be like, I like this player here and there
Yeah,
and grab
see
these
that
guys.
I love goalies too, and I've started a little bit of a collection. I got my Darcy Kemper one. I
Yeah.
got my Cal, but like
I,
goalies
I'd
don't are
especially want ones with cool goalie pads. So like black pads or brown pads or like, if they're on a winter classic game, those special pads or
yeah,
that's where I would be super into it. I
yeah.
love that kind of stuff. I love custom. Speaking of which, actually, so I've been playing a lot of Chell lately. I've been quite addicted to Chell, I must say.
Chell,
And
why do you call that
it's NHL 20
Chell?
Chell. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. We play on a team, me and a couple buddies,
Yeah.
and you start in tier 10, and then you go up to tier 1 if you
No.
can make it.
Yeah.
But you play in. Oh, you've played it before?
I'm familiar. Yeah, I used
Oh,
to
okay.
play. Yeah.
So we've been riding tier 2 for a while. So it's pretty fun. But it's just like the one thing I've taken from it is I think it's really cool all the different customization. So like
Yeah.
you can customize your skates, your stick tape, your
Your visor
pants, like all
color.
that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I guess my question is, when do you think in the NHL that will come where people can? I mean, Ovi has his custom laces, but like, when do you think we're gonna see, Ovi with like, rocket skate, not rocket skates, but like painted skates with like whatever on it, or what if you see,
Like
maybe if you
goalie
took like
mask, like goalie helmets, but like
kind
for
of, yeah,
skates and for other stuff.
yeah. Let's take somebody like Jordan Tutu. Maybe
I
he put
think,
like an Inuit,
yeah, I
logo
could
on his
see
skates or
it, but
something.
I would more expect sponsors to buy that first, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Fuck sponsors is my opinion. At the
I'm
NHL
just
level,
being
there
a,
should be never sponsorships on jerseys. If you want to put them on the pants, if you want to put them on the helmet, if you even have to put them on the socks, sure. Do not touch the jersey. The jersey is sacred in terms of my opinion. Like,
I agree.
do not put I hate in juniors where they put like the stop sign. I get why they do it and they need to and they should keep doing it, but I don't like it for appearance, cosmetic looks. They put like the stop sign on the
Yeah,
back and sponsored by your local Tim Hortons or whatever. Like I hate that crap, but I understand people don't have money, so they need people to sponsor and stuff like that. But
agreed, yeah.
at the NHL level, it should never be like that. Sponsor the boards, sponsor intermission, sponsor the commercials, have somebody drive a freaking Toyota Caravan or something.
Yeah.
Or freaking whatever out on the ice in a whistle. Freaking who cares? Do that for all I care. Add 5 more intermission or commercial breaks. Just don't put advertisements on the jerseys.
I agree. I think it would ruin jersey sales over anything.
Yeah, because then you're buying what jerseys that are not sponsored, and then
What
you
is
see
a
your
there's a
favorite
sport
players wearing
that's like I
McDonald's
think
or something.
soccer is like that.
Yeah,
where it's pretty weird.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but that's like even in European hockey, they have a lot of it, but it's mostly restricted to, non-jersey stuff, but some of them still have the jersey plaques on the butt and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a neat opportunity. I mean, there might be, guidelines or restrictions, obviously no profanity, nothing, whatever, but like it might be, if you're Washington, keep your colors to blue, gray, and red kind of thing. Don't come out with, yellow and black and then end up playing Boston or something, Because there's a lot of times that, I mean, looking down, there's sometimes you make decisions just based off people's skates or bottom of shin pads, right?
Sure,
Just making a judgment call. So like if you're like, oh, I'm playing Boston and it looks like Boston color stuff, you might make that judgment call not thinking, which could be the difference of maybe a breakaway at the end of a game winner. So you have to be careful with that stuff. But I think it's a very cool concept to maybe allow.
It just reminds me of that. I forget the player that was rounding the bases and yelled, "I got it" as he ran past the.
It was A-Rod.
That's it. Yeah.
A-Rod yelled it at who was playing third base?
I forget.
Was it Aaron Hill?
No, he didn't play much third base, did he? Not Lyle Overbay.
No, Overbay was first baseman. I always call it. You want to know what I called Lyle Overbay?
What?
Have you ever seen his photo from when he was with the Jays?
I've seen, probably, yeah.
He's like, so he looks like super baked. So I called him Lyle Overbaked. That was my name the whole time he was in Toronto.
I always just remember him cranking one of the fourth deck.
Yeah, big lefty swing. Yeah. Yeah. Who was your favorite, quick before we sign off, who was your favorite Jay player, non-pitcher of all time?
Of all time?
So top three.
Of all time?
Yeah.
I loved Nixon. That's from when I was a kid. He stole so many fucking bases. I forget it. I want to say it's Richard Nixon, but I forget what his...
Isn't that fucking Kiss guy or something? No, that's Richard Simmons. Richard...
what's his fucking name? Nixon.
I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to that.
I was a big fan of... I like John McDonald, but I wouldn't put him in my top. Otis Nixon, that was his name.
Oh, okay.
He was only on the Jays for like 2 years, maybe. But
I'm not familiar with him.
But the main reason I'm familiar with him is because this is what got me into baseball when I was a kid. I was down at my grandparents by myself for a week. They were watching me or whatever. That was the first time I really got to spend any time with them. I forget how old I was. I was very young. My grandpa, huge Jays guy, always watched every game. So I sat with him every time and watched the Jays game with him during that week I was there. And this Otis Nixon guy, it must have been his week or something. He was on a heater. He must have carried them. He was just stealing bases. It's what made me start.
There's never been big base stealers in Toronto too, either, generally speaking. So, except there was one guy. I don't remember who he was, but maybe it was him. There was one year I remember the guy had like 50 something stolen bases. Maybe it was him.
So I'm looking up Otis Nixon right now. It's crazy. He's 61 years old now, so that's how old he fucking was. Let's see, when he's in the Blue Jays. So he's 96, 97, so that's when I would have been like 7 years old.
How many stolen bases?
Well, he had 620 in his career, which was
probably about 60 something. What, 50, high 50s, low 60s?
Yeah, he had a 15-year career. I can't tell quickly how many he had that one year. But
Oh,
15
okay.
divided by 600, that's quite a few. It's like
Yeah.
at least 40 a season.
Yeah.
So.
No other guys that stand out that's your
Oh,
faves?
yeah. Delgado.
I was going to say that's my guy. I love
Delgado
Delgado.
for sure.
He was one of my faves. He was the reason. Delgado was. I actually liked baseball before hockey. In terms of like loving the sport. And Delgado was kind of the guy that made me love the Jays. And Sundin was my guy, obviously for hockey. But yeah, Delgado. I love Delgado and the Jays. I didn't even care about the way that they played. I just loved watching him play. And then obviously Halliday was a big guy for me, but I didn't ask you about those.
Halliday's my number one. He's my jersey.
Yeah.
I got my jersey about him. I don't care what any of these reports coming out lately say about him. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care. I never
I
cared
actually
about.
loved Alex Rios too until he got paid. He was one of my favorite.
He was fun.
Yeah.
Vernon Wells was the first guy that made me realize that what fans do to people that are traders.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that, but I never hated Vernon Wells.
Yeah.
He
I'm
wasn't.
trying to think.
He was
Think
good to
around
have
that.
behind or in front of Delgado, I guess he was in the lineup.
Yeah. I liked O-Dog. O-Dog was really good. Orlando Hudson.
Fuck yeah, I loved O-Dog. Yes.
Yeah, he was sick. I loved him.
Yeah, he was great.
He wasn't even that good. Like if you go back and look at his numbers, he wasn't even that good, but he was a fan favorite. I think just because he gave it all on every single play.
He tried so hard, yeah.
Yeah. He was I remember being upset when he got traded to, I want to say it was the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I was gonna say Colorado, so it was one of those two.
Somewhere out there. Yeah.
No, O-Dog. Yeah, I forgot about him.
Yeah, that was one guy I remember. That was just like, yeah, for sure, fan favorite. I was going through the positions. First base, definitely Delgado. Second base was O-Dog. Shortstop, I don't know.
I'd probably give
they
it to,
haven't had very many good ones.
Again, it's not a good player. John McDonald. He was one of those guys that I liked him. He was
If I had to pick a name that excited me most, if I had to say the excitement out of a name, would probably be Jose Reyes.
Yeah.
That would probably be like the excitement of who I wanted. I was so jacked. Oh, I guess Tulowitzki.
Tulowitzki was big when we got him
too. I guess that he only had the one good year here, but yeah, both when Tulo and Reyes were here, I was like, wow, we have like one of the top shortstops in the game. Third base, I'm forgetting somebody third base that I should not be.
Donaldson?
No, from a while back. He was before Scott Rowland. Oh, big boy, St. Louis. Hit a shit ton of home runs in St. Louis. Troy Gloss. Remember Troy Gloss?
The name sounds familiar. It doesn't stand out.
Glaus.
Pardon?
I think. Glaus. Gloss. I think. He came from St. Louis, and he hit a ton of home runs, and I was like, what the fuck?
If I had to give a third baseman, it'd be to E5. Error 5, please. Give the error to... I just remember. Everyone thought he was called E5 because it was Edwin number 5, but it's because he got an error on third base every time he played it.
Yeah. All right, man.
Yeah. We'll take care. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. Stay safe. Cheers, buddy.
Later, man.
Later.